whose name sleeps in my heart, and there it is. It's apart my eyes windows to the beauty of your name. 7 letters that I've loved formed to
Assalamu alaikum and welcome. We are fast approaching the day of Ashura. It was this time, 1,400 years ago, that the grandson of our holy prophet sacrificed not only himself but his family for the propagation of Islam.
Although the time is approaching that time of mourning, we're also reminded of the benefits that come with the month of Muharram, and these benefits inshallah will accompany us in the afterlife.
Of course, and it was the holy prophet, peace be upon him, and his family who said to his daughter Fatima Zahra alayhi salam that on the day of judgment every eye shall weep except the eye which has shed tears over the tragedy of Hussein alayhi salam, for that eye shall be laughing and shall be given the bounties and comforts of paradise.
That's a really interesting, beautiful hadith, and I always look forward to those. It's a reminder to us all really that it can brighten up any dreary Monday morning.
Of course. Monday mornings, of course, typically aren't usually my favorite, unless, of course, we are in the studio at IMAM HUSSEIN TV, bringing the Baraka to your screens. Speaking of Baraka, let us see what we have coming up for you this morning. We have, of course, as always, Brother Mustafa Al-Ali blessing our studio with another beautiful recitation of the Holy Quran from Surah Ikhlas. Absolutely love his recitation.
Yeah, definitely, mashallah, he's amazing. We also have Brother Ibrahim Ansari in the couch with our daily du'as, which is a staple for us during these morning times. Today we'll be looking forward to Ziyarat al-Ashura.
Yeah. We're also bringing you live footage from the holy shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and looking forward to that, and inshallah you can reap the benefits of ziyarah from the comforts of your own home. And of course, right after that we have the recitations and the poetry today. Of course, we have the excellent Imran Datu, who will be gracing our studio with a recitation and discussion as well.
Excellent. And we also have Masuma Jafar today answering your personal questions with dear Masuma. And today we're looking at the diplomacy of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and how we should apply it to our lives.
Of course, and as again we have a very cute guest this morning, our little Husseini, who is educating us on the rituals during Muharram and Safar.
And finally, we also have Sayyid Musa Shah on the couch with your fiqh questions and queries.
Of course, right now we are giving you the opportunity to deliver a personal ziyarah to any member of your deceased family or friends, and of course more details with our colleague from Karbala, Brother Ali.
Daily I'd wake and recall how in the night you I'd call with the sunrise and sunset, your love I'd share.
We are born with the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We learn to crawl, to walk, to read and to write. We live our lives. We donate to humanity, we donate to society, and we donate to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Before you know it, we die. We leave this life and we move on to the next journey. Morning Baraka is offering you the chance to help your loved ones on their journey. We are taking down names of your loved ones who are no longer with you to dedicate a recitation of the holy ziyarat of Imam Hussein to them. Our reciters will recite a Ziyarat Ashura on your loved one's behalf right here from the holy land of Karbala and in front of the holy shrine of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein, Abu Abdullah. We understand the pain of losing a loved one and wanting to do the best for their akhirah. That is why Morning Baraka is giving you the opportunity to give comfort to those who have moved on. All we want you to do is to send in the names of your loved ones, family members, neighbors, friends, associates, and we will recite and donate to their akhirah only on Morning Baraka here on IMAM HUSSEIN TV 3.
If you would like to participate in this initiative, please send the name of the marhum you would like the ziyarah read for to either Morning Baraka at imamhussein.tv or comment your marhumeen's names on our Instagram page at IMAM HUSSEIN 3 TV, and we will make sure this gift reaches them.
My heartbeat, part of my blood you became.
Now I'd like to introduce the Quran segment of the morning.
Yeah, so we are joined by Mustafa Al-Ali as ever on this series of Morning Barakah. We're delighted to have him on the show once again. Mustafa, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, good, thank you.
Good. So I guess today, inshallah, we're going to be going through Surah Al-Ikhlas,
Inshallah.
which is chapter 112. And in terms of the verses, you're going to be reading the whole chapter. So
Inshallah.
we very much look forward to hearing your voice now.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Once again, thank you so much for your time, Mustafa Al-Ali, for his wonderful recitations.
Absolutely.
As again, this part of the show, we are taking a bit of a deep dive into the du'as and the supplications associated with Muharram and Ashura. And we have our dear distinguished guest, Ibrahim Al-Ansari. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa
How are you?
rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah, how about yourselves?
Alhamdulillah, good, thank you.
Doing very, very well. We had a very interesting discussion since the last episode. We wanted to cover a lot, but we managed to cover just a bit of what we really wanted to get at from our last episode. Really, really good discussions. Essentially, just to follow on from our last conversation,
Sure.
and I guess the question that I asked was, in terms of preparation for Muharram, and of course now we're a couple of days into Muharram, so we're gearing towards Ashura.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting points that you mentioned was actually supplication, as well as every other aspect of preparing for Muharram, is all speaking directly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the supplications, as they are, it's a conversation with Allah.
Definitely.
Tonight or today you're going to be focusing on Ziyad Ashura specifically.
Yes.
And of course, as we know, Ziyad Ashura has many different components. One of the components, interestingly, is association and disassociation. Tawalli and tabarri. So association is associating yourself with the infallibles, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and disassociation, correct me
From
if I'm
the
wrong,
enemies.
From the enemies. So why is it you're focusing on this aspect of the ziyarah today?
You see, with association and dissociation, not only is it in furu' ad-din, so when we look at furu' ad-din and we have all the furu' and then we come to the specific association and disassociation, we find that Imam Hussein alayhi salam, one of the main stances he actually took in his story relating to Muharram was this association, which is in where they asked him to give bay'ah, to give allegiance to Yazid ibn Muawiyah. And he stood there and he started describing his actions. Sharibun lil khamr, he drinks alcohol, he plays with monkeys and pigs and etc. And he started to describe his very bad attributes. And then he said something very important. He said, Mithli la yubayi'u mithlah. Someone like me would never pay allegiance to someone like him.
So what you're saying is Imam Hussein is developing a criteria of an ideal human being and a not ideal human being.
Definitely.
So he's painting the picture of what I am disassociating with is, for example, drinking alcohol or playing with certain animals or being of a corrupt nature. And what he says is everything that I do is the
opposite.
The opposite of that,
Definitely.
But do you think, sorry,
no, go for it.
I was going to say that, so you talk about the association, disassociation, but for me, so for Imam Hussein had a very, sort of outwardly physical enemy in front of him, but often in this time and age, the enemy is within us. So when he's talking about disassociation, is it right to think that we're actually talking about the disassociation within us, where shaitan can influence us and actually make us become like Yazid?
Yeah.
We have that potential. So
we have, you see, it's very clear cut. We have the potential to be like those who oppress them. And the reason I say that very confidently, I would say, is no, we cannot become infallible. But one thing we realize, and I think this is very important, when Ali al-Akbar goes to the battlefield, Imam Hussein, what does he say? Allahumma shahid, oh Allah witness, أنه برز إليهم أشبه الناس خلقا وخلقا بجد رسول الله. Oh Allah witness that to them has just gone to combat the one who is most like in terms of appearance and in terms of akhlaq, like my grandfather Rasulullah.
He also adds in terms of voice as well, وَمَنْطِقًا.
وَمَنْطِقًا. Yes, ahsant. وَمَنْطِقًا بِرَسُولillah. So, who was the best of mankind? Even better than Imam Ali, even better than Imam Hussein, Rasulullah. And we have Ali al-Akbar being the one who is most like him, خَلْقًا وَخُلُقًا وَمَنْطِقًا بِرَسُولillah. It's very important. It's Lady Zainab, when she stands, and I think in the next couple of episodes we have something specific for her, so we'll save that for that. But just a very quick intro into that. Lady Zainab, when she stands in the majlis of Yazid, and people look at the way she is talking, one of them, in fact, sorry, in Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad's majlis, one of the people that sees her talking, what does he say? He says, it's as if she is talking, كأنها تفرغ عن لسان أبيها. It's as if Imam Ali is talking right now. So there's a specific thing, there's specific attributes in the infallibles that we can actually aim to achieve. In the same way, there are specific attributes in the enemies of the infallibles, in the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we can achieve as well. And we must, and the reason we started last episode with the dua of asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us away from shaitan is to make sure that we're not like these people.
Yeah.
And also things like that, Yazid is a very extreme character, and Imam Hussein obviously an infallible perfection there. But the way that Yazid is, if we were to go down the wrong path, it doesn't happen overnight. And the shaitan's whisperings, we have to be so careful not to go every point. We are sort of given this opportunity to be right and on the right path and the wrong path. So to always make that choice to be on the right path.
Definitely.
But rather than us going, I just wanted to go into the ziyarah that you've chosen today and to discuss about really what you've chosen, and then perhaps inshallah you can recite for us as well, please.
Inshallah. So of course this is not the start of the ziyarah, so after that it goes.
So this is ziyarah Ashura, right?
Ziyarah Ashura, yes. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. Of course, there's more to this towards the ziyarah, but I think there are specific parts that I think we should stop at just because I know the episode is very short and it would just take more time.
That was beautiful.
But one thing that we realize, just to carry on the discussion, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
So we talked about walaya and bara'a, and we see over here that one of the most important things it mentions, it says بِمُوَالَاتِكُمْ وَمُوَالَاتِ وَلِيِّكُمْ. So by associating myself with you and associating myself with those associated with you.
Okay.
And when it comes to bara'a, it says, and by disassociating myself from your enemies, وَالْعَاصِبِينَ لَكُمْ الْحَرْبَ, those who did war against you, etc. And for those who are as part of their group, أشياعهم وأتباعهم, and those who followed them.
Okay.
So this is very important. So it means that association and dissociation is not just with the imams, not just with their enemies at that time. The enemies are still here today. And they come in all different forms, by the way. One of the main forms that they could come in, for example, is in fact by coming in as the most religious in our eyes.
Yeah.
Sure.
And those who associate with them, sometimes you find that a lot of people turn a blind eye to them.
Yeah.
But in fact, they are actually who get us closer, because sometimes it's a friend that gets you closer to religion.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is your father who gets you close to religion. Sometimes it's a complete stranger. You might see a specific act on the street and like, do you know what? And it hits you. It hits you. Do you know what? I need to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's very important. Association and dissociation is not just back then. It carries on here today. And we need to be very careful in terms of who we befriend, in terms of who we hang out with, in terms of who we deal with, even if it is in terms of jobs. Who we deal with in our day-to-day jobs, because as we know, for younger ones who are in school, they are amongst their friends, they are amongst their classmates. Those who are working, they are amongst their colleagues. They have a big influence. You're there from 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That's most of your day. You go back home, you rest, you eat. You might go out for a bit, and then you're gonna go to sleep.
Yeah.
So most of your time is over there. We need to make sure that once we are in that specific place, we are in the right place. We are in a place that pleases Allah and the infallibles.
Yeah.
So what you're saying really is that the loyalty of our association, so have it for the right reasons and not because it's particularly a religious person or it's a religious group or it's, it could be anybody. And you're absolutely right that you could be in the street, couldn't you? And you actually see something that's so amazing that's perhaps from a non-Muslim, as we are in the West. And it just really makes you think, wow, that person, is a good reminder for yourself of how we should be. And I don't know, Ali, if you've got anything.
I wanted to actually move on just a bit because you've mentioned in terms of wilaya and bara'ah, and actually very interestingly, I didn't actually notice that before, but it's not just associating yourself with the imam or the opposite of the imam, but it's also their groups and what they represent as well, which is fascinating. But in terms of ziyarat Ashura, as we know typically within our majalis, it's recited always in the beginning of the programs, as we usually know. Do you have some thought as to why this is?
You see, with ziyarah, if we would translate the literal word ziyarah, it means salutations. So or visiting. So in your Muharram Majlis, one of the main things that you are actually there to do is for you to come closer to the Imam, correct? Now, for us to come closer, similarly with the dua, we said that we have a direct conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here we send our salams, we visit the Imam. And you know in Arabic when we say, I'm going to azur this specific person, so I'm going to visit this specific person, I'm going to attend, we want to get the visitation of the Imam. Once we are in the majlis, if we start by getting ourselves closer to the land of Karbala, we automatically, and I don't know if you've realized this or not, but as soon as the ziyarah is recited, there's a specific connection straight away, instantly.
It's a
Because you're
powerful
closer.
ziyarah.
You're closer to Karbala. You're closer to the shrine, even if we're so far away. And that is, I think, the most beautiful way Aslan to start. So of course, after the Holy Quran is being recited, so as I think very interestingly over here, also it says that you associate yourself with Allah. Then it says thumma. This specific word thumma is very important. Then the infallibles.
Right.
That is very important.
So it's a sequence.
And a lot of the attacks that we usually get is we put Allah and the infallibles in the same category. No, this is Imam Zain al-Abidin teaching us. He's saying that I'm going to associate myself with Allah, thumma, then the infallibles.
Sure.
And then so the Quran we start, and then we get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we get close to the infallibles through the ziyarah.
SubhanAllah, that's brilliant.
Beautiful.
Actually, just to confirm, we've got 2 sessions on Ziyarat Ashura. So
inshallah.
you mentioned something very interesting in terms of Zain Abidin. I would love to know more about his impact on Ziyarat Ashura and what it means to him, as well as the history behind Ziyarat Ashura. But Zara, I think our time is up.
It is, unfortunately. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Inshallah,
very
we'll
much.
continue next morning.
Inshallah.
So inshallah, you have a blessed day today.
Inshallah, jazakumullah khair. Likewise to
Thank
the
you
both
so
of you.
much.
Yeah. So just moving on to the next part of Morning Barakah, what you'll see on your screens next is actually, as we are a couple of days into Muharram, we're going to be, and this is going to be the same for the rest of the next 2 months in a sense. Morning Barakah is going to be a Muharram Arba'in special. So we're going to show you little extracts from the land of Karbala. And as Ibrahim mentioned, you know, when it comes to our majalis, we want to align ourselves to the land of Karbala, to the land of Hussein alayhi salam. So what we'll do is we'll take extracts from the busy lifestyle of Karbala as a city and what happens there during Muharram, the locals, what they do, the commemorations, the processions, and then after that, inshallah, we'll go to verses of love.
You cannot die. You are alive, and I won't stop believing that I may die, but you will keep on living. That you live on, even though we're left grieving. And I will walk on the road you would walk. Your words live on, though you no longer talk. No sword, no arrow can pierce your armored shadow. Who can kill the tears that flow for Hussein? They thought you'd go there to die. What made you live has your Lord. They thought you'd be defeated. Your blood defeated the sword. I salute Al-Maimun, the Madid of Karbala, the sorrow of Zahra. I salute Al-Mun. I salute Al-Maimun, the Madid of Karbala, the sorrow of Zahra. I salute Al-Mun. They could not bury beneath the earth the one we love. When he was buried beneath ground, yet him above. And we know that just as well as you had known that. But we haven't stopped loving you till our last breath. And when like you we had died, we had known that death had lied. Because your love, even death itself can't hide. Just yesterday, alone you lay. 1,000 years, but we live it day after day. For your love, like you, our loved ones taken away. Just yesterday, we know, just like you know, your loss and your sorrow. We are still killed today, living in your shadow. We know, just like you know, your loss and your sorrow. We are still killed today, living in your shadow. Oh, last of Karbala, oh, thirst of Karbala, oh, slain of Karbala, oh, pain of Karbala. We know when we're born that from our souls shall be torn, as we lament and we mourn for Hussein. Look what Karbala gave us, in return what can we give? I thought I'd go there to die, in fact I went there to live. I salute and I mourn the madad of Karbala, the sorrow of Zahra. I salute and mourn.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and as you've just seen on your screens, it's now the second or third day, or the beginning of the of Muharram. And as you can see from the processions on your screens, essentially Muharram has now started. The vibe has started. The atmosphere has started within Karbala, the city of Karbala, which is the heart of Ashura in itself. Everything that happens outside of Karbala and the city of Karbala in Iraq, everything that happens outside is basically trying to mimic or trying to be as close as they can to the city of Karbala. So when we show you what's happening in Karbala, that is the heart of Ashura and the spirit of Ashura being within the vicinity of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So you know, each day we'll show you bits from the scenes of Karbala, and I'm now joined by a guest who's actually consecutively been in Karbala during the 10 days of Muharram, and we're delighted to be with Imran Datu. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
A dear friend of mine, Imran. I've shared many a times the pulpit with him, and it's an honor to be with you. And I guess from, as I was mentioning, you've been in Karbala during the 10 days of Muharram. I've been personally about 6 years ago. I'm not sure how it's like now. I'd love to know about the changes that's happened between them. But from your experiences, you've been, you know, was it 2 years ago and then last year?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes,
yeah. So 2 years ago and last year. Tell us about your initial experience from a recitation point of view. You being a reciter, because I say this because a lot of reciters out there, and as I was mentioning, you know, outside of Karbala, everyone wants to be within the vicinity of Imam Hussein. From a reciter point of view, our responsibility, as you know, is to try and connect the audience to Imam Hussein through recitations and through tears and through emotions.
Absolutely.
So because we recite about Imam Hussein, being actually there, and your responsibility is to recite, it must be, you know, a heartwarming experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, to go to Karbala in Muharram itself was a target of mine, or a dream of mine, if you will. And to actually be invited by Imam himself is a big honor, huge honor. And it was for the main purpose of reciting, like you're saying, doing the tabligh in our own way. And that in itself brings that responsibility, like you just said. So my expectations for the first time was nervous in a little way, because Muharram, you hear about all these things that go on in Karbala on the day of Ashura itself, on the 10th of Muharram. So it was all a little bit, not so much nervous, maybe more anxiety. You're just anxious a little bit to see what to expect. You don't know. So the Muharram atmosphere in Karbala is second to none, 100%. As I'm sure, if you, like you said, you've experienced in that, in the atmosphere sense, I'm sure nothing's changed from day one to now. Because the azar, the gham of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is alive from, like I said, day one till now. Alhamdulillah, a miracle in itself. From a reciter's point of view, the job that I was going to do there to recite, and that the responsibility Imam had given me, it was very, you had to get it in your mind to make sure you deliver, you come through and hope that it's accepted by Imam alayhi salam. So when it came to preparation, I'll be honest, the first time I went, I didn't prepare as well, if you will. I think part of it was because of maybe the nerves or the anxiety, just to see. So it was more a case of, okay, let's jump into it, and then inshallah we will go day by day. It went well, alhamdulillah, but as I'm sure you would say, any recitation you do, anything you when you perform something, you will criticize yourself to a new level, to make sure you improve, to make sure you progress, for the sake of Imam, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think that was something just me personally, stood out for me quite a lot. So that the second time that I went, I made sure to prepare a lot more. And I think the second time when we went, we didn't have a lecturer within our group. So myself and my dear brother Abbas Lalji, we both went together, and we were told to recite the Masaib as well. And this is something we've never ever done before. Really? So that now again brought more responsibility of Imam that he had given us, and again is an honor 100%. So this definitely required some preparation, because that's a field that we've never been to. So it was different in that case. Like, and 1 year you do your comfort zone, and then the second year even though we were still reciting the Nawhas, the Latmiyas, but we were put into a deeper end by needing to recite the Masaib of the various shuhada of Karbala as well.
So you went, obviously, because when I go, I'm Iraqi, so I speak the language, I know the culture inside out. From your first time, coupled with the fact that it was just jumping into the deep end, how did you find, how did you experience it from being, number one, being in Karbala during Muharram, and then coupled with the culture as well that you had to get used to, and you being from a different background, how did that work out? Yeah,
so the language barrier was there 100%. Being, speaking like 2, 3, 4 languages, alhamdulillah, I have in my roster, if you will, but Arabic is not one of them, neither is Farsi or anything. So there was definitely that language barrier, and alhamdulillah, within our group, we did have some Iraqis who would do all the talking for us and kind of get what we wanted. But we do, like, I personally like to pick up like a few words here and there, a few phrases. In fact, the last time when we both went, just now with the group, with the volunteers from Karbala who are helping us, they made me make a list of all the Arabic phrases, and so and I was testing it out on various people, including yourself. If you remember. So I like to pick it up, and then I have it. So inshallah, for next time, you keep improving and try to communicate as best you can.
Brilliant. So there was a lot of different aspects that you had to take in. So when people associate Karbala and Ashura, they always think about the matam, the lamentations, the streets, the shrine itself. But from yourself, just walking in the streets, what was the atmosphere like for, just waking up in the morning, having breakfast, for example, and just walking the streets? What was the vibe like during Muharram? And how does it differ from outside of Muharram?
So firstly, the vibe in Karbala compared to when we were in the UK on the day of Ashura is completely different. Like, you wake up there in an automatic sense of grief. You're already like, because if you're there prior to the day of Ashura, the lead up, the different, on the streets, there's the reenactments of the deaths of the Shuhada of Karbala. So you witness that, and it gets you put into that mode. And then come Ashura, you're already like, your heart is building up to kind of let all that grief out. As soon as Ashura hits. So as soon as Ashura gets up, you get up in Karbala, and you're in that form of mourning. You go out on the streets, and there are people there you know, doing the tatbir, doing matam, doing latmiya. You hear lectures from everywhere, and everyone's just, you know, you hear mourning, you hear crying, and that is the vibe here over in Karbala. Whereas over here, you get up and it's almost like become a little bit ritualistic, I want to say. It's not a great thing, because obviously there's so much meaning on this day of Ashura that you want to lament and you want to grieve for a particular purpose rather than keeping it ritualistic, which sometimes we find in the West. But in Karbala, apart from a day of Ashura, the vibe is, there is difference in the vibe, 100%. You can see the air, the tension is different, if you will. So
I remember during my time, I think from sunrise, the whole atmosphere, it's like, because from what we know in the story of Karbala is that during a period of time there was chaos, it was a war, so there was fighting, and then there was screaming and whatever, and then you know, with the drums as well, so Karbala becomes almost Karbala
back in the day.
Back in the day.
Yeah,
so when you walk in the streets, you actually see it, even the blood, like to be honest with you, even when it comes to the tatbir as well, you see that, like, it becomes the battlefield.
Absolutely.
Like, there's swords everywhere, there's blood everywhere, there's drums, and you just feel like you're at that moment,
at that zone,
at that time as well.
Yeah.
And I think there was something that I noticed as well when they do the maqtal, so the full story of the whole narrative of Karbala and the story, and then they end it with Salat al-Dhuhr, or just after Salat al-Dhuhr, which is, I think, according to the narrations, that's when Imam Hussein was actually killed. So it reaches the pinnacle of grief and lamentation, and everyone is just so charged up with emotion. And then after that, you see the dip. And you've been there on like the night of the 11th. Everything is just dark and it's just solemn. The candles are out and they're doing the Shama Ghariban, right? So that from what you're saying, London doesn't have that.
No,
you know what I mean? So London, you wake up, okay, I have to go to the mosque, and it's just you know, you come across normal London life.
Absolutely,
and it's not the same. It's not the same. Although we try to reenact it, but it's really not the same. So. I definitely understand what you're saying. So from just to kind of recap from your experiences, from a recitation point of view, and the culture that you were trying to associate yourself to, and these streets and the atmosphere, if you go again, what will be your expectations, or from a recitation point of view? Will you be more prepared? Will you know what's going on? How does it work for the next time you go?
Yeah, so I think. Alhamdulillah, as time's gone from the first time I went to Karbala, my own like albums, for example, are being released. So with that, something I personally really like to do is recite the poetry that I have attained from poets themselves, as opposed to you know, reciting various other nawha khans. It's not a bad thing, but it's just something for me personally, because it's any production or any nawha we take from day one to the end of the production, it's my work collected with the poets together. So it would be, for me, it's a case of me telling Imam, this is my hard work that I'm reciting for you. So something I would do different is recite more of, I think, my poetry, or rather the poetry that's been written for me, but maybe composed by myself, something like that. And that would add to the preparation time as well. The preparation would be easier in that sense. But
have you written before when it comes to poetry?
Have I written before? I think I've written one, but it's not a strong point, not strong, I guess, thing of mine. To write. I wrote in English, actually, on Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam. I don't know where it is. I don't have it on me, but I've written
it. Was it a while ago?
It was a while ago. I think around.
So why do you feel like you want to start writing your own poetry as well as getting poetry from?
No, I don't. The thing is, I tried to start writing, but I think, and this is something I believe in, that if you have a gift, use it. But if you, like I personally, I don't think poetry is a strong sector of mine that I have. So I think I would probably prefer to leave that to the experts. And but when it comes to composing, when it comes to, I guess, delivering that material, inshallah, that's something that I like to strive towards and, you know, perfect and get stronger.
Yeah, I guess, look, in the next couple of episodes, we'd love to know more about, your expertise, your skills, your techniques,
Inshallah.
especially when it comes to creativity, the tracks, the albums. I'd love to, because I have my own experiences when it comes to creating tracks. I'd love to know from your perspective as well. You know, what do you do on a day-to-day basis when it comes to, or the process of actually creating a track? What is it that actually happens? So we'll talk about that definitely in the coming episodes. So look, I can definitely relate to you when it comes to your experiences in Muharram and being in Karbala and Ashura. So you know, very, very, very much appreciate your time. We're definitely going to have much more. We're going to have a lot more interesting conversations, hopefully in the next couple of episodes. But for now, we thank Imran Datu for his time. Coming up next, actually, is going to be Dear Ma'sooma, the segment of Dear Ma'sooma, with my co-host Zara Kazmi and also with Ma'sooma Jafar. They're going to be speaking about quite an interesting topic, looking into Shia-Sunni communication. Over to you, Zara.
MashaAllah, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. We have Sister Ma'sooma joining us once again, and we're going to be speaking about Shia-Sunni commemorations. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Ma'sooma.
Assalamu wa rahmatullah.
Inshallah, you're well.
Alhamdulillah. How about yourself?
Alhamdulillah, well, thank you. So we have another question, and it's from a revert, previously a Sunni and has now become a Shia, and says, it feels like I'm learning Islam all over again due to how many new things I have come across since reverting. Could you please shed some light on your understanding of why some Sunni Muslims do not commemorate the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, in the way that Shias do? Is it because they have different hadith books? And obviously enjoying the show and thanking you for your input. I am new to Islam, so it's an anonymous Canada. So what would you,
Okay, so I think one of the things to realise is, although the split is something that is historical, due to who people followed after the Shahada of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, it has a lot of fiqh implications as well, because obviously who you followed decided who would then make the rules and regulations and so forth, because we've got to realise that when the Holy Prophet was there, it was only for 23 years. So there was a lot of new things that were coming into Islam, which then had to, rulings had to be made on. So there are differences in fiqh as well. So it's not just the commemoration, but it's also the fiqh issues as well come into it as well. So it does feel like you're actually, coming into something new,
right.
Which it shouldn't, because you think, well, I'm still a Muslim.
Yes.
But there are, differences in fiqh and everything as well. I think Muharram, it actually does play out quite differently, because the Shias obviously are mourning and commemorating the martyrdom.
It's a very visual commemoration,
yes,
isn't it?
Very much so.
And it's not something equivalent, I think, that the Sunnis.
Well, the Sunnis tend to sort of look at, they're actually looking more at gratitude at that time, because they have hadiths within their book which talk about when the Holy Prophet entered Medina, he saw that the Jews in Medina were fasting. So he asked them, and this is in Bukhari, where he asks them why they're fasting, what is this? And they said that it's the day when Prophet Musa and the Israelites were saved when the sea was split.
And this is the 10th of Muharram, isn't it?
On the day of Ashura, so the Holy Prophet said, oh, that's a really good thing. And so he decided to fast, and he encouraged the Muslims to fast. Now, we don't have these hadiths within our books. And the reason, first, before I go into this hadith, let's look at the reason why there are differences in hadith. Okay, so after the death of the Holy Prophet, hadith was banned from being written according to the Khilafah at that time. And according to the Shias, under the guidance of Imam Ali alayhi salam, they were encouraged to continue writing, because that's what the Holy Prophet had encouraged. So Imam Ali alayhi salam continued the encouragement of continuing to write hadith, but it was done private, secretly, because openly it was something that was banned. So from the death of from the Shahada of the Holy Prophet till I think it was 101 AH, at the time of the Khilafah of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, where he then said no, hadith should be written, and then he started allowing the writing of hadith. So you think in all those years, how many hadiths were lost, how many were misquoted, how many were then made up when they started writing. So we have a lot of hadiths within the books which you know, are not considered as authentic because the chain of narration doesn't go all the way to the Prophet, because the actual text doesn't go according to what the Holy Quran would say. So there's a whole ilmul hadith, which is, you know, the science of hadith, where people look into the people who have narrated this hadith, people, you know, what the actual hadith says, whether it makes sense. So when you look at this specific hadith, which is in Bukhari, according to the, you know, what the scholars will say is that, first of all, the Holy Prophet did not enter Medina in Muharram. So, you know, that doesn't make sense that he entered and he saw the Jews fasting. And also the fact that he did not know why they were fasting, and he asked them, and then when they told him, he said, oh, that's a good idea, let me do that. Again, that is not the status of the Holy Prophet. When the Holy Prophet told people to do something, or he did something, it came directly from Allah. He only did what he was told to by Allah, not by the people. So because of those things, you know, we don't accept those hadiths to be authentic. Obviously the Sunnis do, and that's why then they fast on the day of Ashura. And because they're looking at...
Every year it's a contentious issue, isn't it?
Yes,
every
and
year,
because they're looking at something that is a good thing that they happen, then they will concentrate on gratitude rather than mourning. I suppose one of the things to think about is, okay, Prophet, if it is true that this is the day that Prophet Musa and the Israelites were saved, great, but this was also the day that the grandson of the Holy Prophet was slaughtered by Muslims. Now, which one would the Holy Prophet consider as more heavier? You know, how many hadiths did the Holy Prophet speak about Prophet Musa, and how many hadiths did he speak about Imam Hussein alayhi salam? You know, the fact that he said he is from me and I am from him, the fact that he says that, you know, he is the, you know, Hassan and Hussein are the youth of paradise. So there are so many hadiths, again, within the Sunni books, as well as the Shia books, which tell you the status of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And it wasn't that he was killed by non-Muslims. I think the greatest lesson of Karbala is that these were people who were praying, who were reciting Quran. Some of them were actually Hafiz of Quran. And yet they could do something so awful.
And I think also that, I mean, I come from a place, I live where there's majority Sunni Muslims. My family have a lot of Sunni Muslims in it. So we see, I don't know about other cultures, Sunnis also have a lot of variance in their community as well. So friends of my family, my children, they will be Sunnis, but they will have a lot of respect for Ahlul Bayt. So South Asia, for instance, has this respect. Even Hindus commemorate. So it's not, I think we can't say it's blanket wide all Sunnis anyway. But I guess it depends on what kind of family someone has come from. If it's completely just, you know, of the school that there is fast and forget that this historical event happened. But I think something that we can really unite on is the fact that, as you said, it's the grandson of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. We don't dispute the Prophet's position, and like you said, it's his grandson. So, you know, no
and
matter
the status that the Prophet gave to the grandson is huge, and
so
the fact that he was, you know, and the fact that this was done to him by Muslims. I think that's a huge learning for all of us who claim to be Muslims. It's like, how do I know that I'm not going to go so off route that I do something like that?
Absolutely,
you know?
and I think it's quite scary that you think before you know, if you get into the habit of not understanding and recognizing truth from falsehood, it becomes very jarred and cloudy, and then you could get to that point before you know it, that you're on the wrong side of history, and your actions are going to be speaking for the worst of you. So how, I mean, Sunnis do commemorate Imam Hussein's Shahada, and I know that, so for instance, in people I know that are Sunnis, they will even attend majalis, some of them, out of respect because of their love for the Holy Prophet. And there are differences in how people commemorate, and I don't know what your experiences are.
I think there is differences within the Shia world as well. So I think mourning is a very personal thing, and I don't think you can tell another human being how they should mourn. I think the idea is to actually remember what happened, and it's important to remember so that history doesn't play out again, and the same thing doesn't happen again, and that's the lessons that we need to learn from history, and that's why it's really important not to forget these lessons. So yes, the Sunnis do, and I think the problem is we Shias seem to think that Imam Hussein is for us only.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we need to sort of step back from and say, no, Imam Hussein was not even for Muslims, he was for humanity.
It's universal, isn't
yeah,
it?
and it's the lessons that are learnt in Karbala is for the whole of humanity.
Yeah.
It's not just it's not a Sunni Shia thing, it's not a Muslim non-Muslim thing. It's actually a human thing. It's there are so many lessons, and you see that. It's like the whole Who's Hussein campaign. There are so many people who've connected to Hussein, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, because of what he stood for. The whole idea of standing against oppression, the whole idea of standing for truth, and all of that is things that I think everyone relates to.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important for Shias to actually talk about Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and the lessons that come from Imam Hussein's stand in Karbala, rather than just keeping it to our mosques.
What stands out for you, sort of something that touches your heart to his message? Because every period as we're progressing, it means more, it means different things. What would you say it feels for you?
I think the greatest lesson for me, like I said, is that Muslims who claim to be Muslims did something like this and went so off course. But the actual stand of Imam Hussein alayhi salam would be to stand up for the truth. I think that is, a lot of the times we know what the truth is, but because we're in the minority or because, it's difficult, we sort of step back and we think
it takes courage, doesn't it?
And Imam Hussein alayhi salam sort of showed us that it doesn't matter how many people there are. It really, if you've got God on your side, that's all that matters.
But as Imam Ali says, that the truth left me with few friends, and that's why, because it's never going to be a popular path, is it? And it's quite amazing, as you say, that how majority on the day of Ashura there were the troops that were prepared to kill, and they did kill Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and yet they thought they were on the path of truth. That the azan went off, and who were they commemorating? But I just wanted to quickly touch on, so this a revert, so it doesn't matter, it's from which background they've come into Shia Islam. And I was just thinking, so perhaps where they would get, so not everybody can travel, some people are quite isolated and they've learned through Imam Hussein, like the campaign you're saying, Who is Hussein, through online activity. So they could be very isolated in a community in far back America or wherever in the world. So do you think that some of the resources they could possibly use, just thinking that probably, what kind of books would you say? Would you think go back to sort of children books? It's very basic knowledge for them. How would you recommend that they read more and learn more about Imam Hussein?
I think we all need to learn more about Imam Hussein alayhi salam. I think a lot of us know the event of Karbala, and that's all we think about when we think about Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But he is so much more than that as well. It's like he was the Imam for a period of time before Karbala happened, and the way he handled himself, when his brother was the Imam, how he was as a child again, growing up in the house of Bibi Fatima and Imam Ali alayhi salam. It's like all of these things are lessons we can learn from. There are lots and lots of books, and
so it's almost like you're saying we should all really look at ourselves as reverts. Nobody's an expert, are they?
Not at all. And I think we concentrate on the day of Karbala, on the day of Ashura. Sorry, the events of Karbala on the day of Ashura, and I think before Muharram starts, we need to prepare ourselves and actually build our connection with Imam Hussein alayhi salam by knowing him a little bit more than we know him. Know him in a way that, I know him and I know how he would act in this situation. I can actually quote parts of his life so I can try to emulate them in my life. So that when I'm actually hearing the events of Ashura happening, and how he's reacting in some of his speeches and things, I can actually connect to them much, much more because now I know him as a person instead of just an idea of Imam Hussein that I've grown up with.
Inshallah, we'll have to cover the topic of perhaps the educational resources at another time. Thank you so much. It's been enlightening again, once again. And up next we have Mini Husseinis.
سلام عليكم أنا مزغازة حسين حريم. Today I'm here at Hussein Rasul Al-A'zam with my granddad Hajar Ali. I'm here today to get ready for tonight's majlis and for the coming nights of Muharram. So come on inside and I'll show you what I'll be doing.
Our home is Karbala, where the youth of the Shia, Hussein's flag is our treasure. We will fly it forever. Our home is Karbala, where the youth of the Shia, Hussein's flag is our treasure. We will fly it forever. We will never let it fall. When we see it,
So today I'm here at the kitchen. I'm helping them pour food for the guests. So come on inside.
Hussein, help us all. We will never let it fall. When
So now we're stirring the rice.
we stand tall, salute it and we then call to you, Hussein, help
I'm going to put the plates in the flame.
Miss Karbala, where the youth of the Shia, Hussein's flag is our treasure. We will fly it forever. Our home is Karbala, where the youth of the Shia, Hussein's flag is our treasure. We will fly it forever. In Muharram,
Now I'm at Abu Salam, that's the curry.
flag hung on the walls. We saw it when we were small. We cried Hussein when we crawled. In Muharram, every hall has this flag hung on the walls. We saw it when we were small. We cried Hussein.
Delicious. Let's go head back to the studio.
Yes, and welcome back. You were just watching Mini Husseinis, where a young girl is embarking on a journey to really understand the rituals associated with Muharram alongside her grandfather. And we very much look forward to keeping up with her journey to see what she learns.
Bless her, she's very cute.
She is. God bless her. God bless her.
It's good to, at a young age, I think, to encourage them, isn't it? So
it is.
God bless her. Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, so this part of Morning Barakah, we're looking into the jurisprudential aspects of Muharram and Ashura and Arba'in as well, looking into, the acts that we do, the rituals that we do. Is there a religious context to it? Is there a jurisprudential context to it? And of course, understanding that and giving us some insight into that is our very own Sayyid Mohsen Shah, who is Imam Hussein TV's very own, I guess, and he has many programs with Imam Hussein TV. So, Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid. How are you?
Welcome this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
It was really interesting topics we discussed, and again, time just flies. So we were talking about Mustahab acts, beginning of the month. We're obviously going in now a few days into Muharram, preparing for Ashura.
Yes.
And really hoping that we can continue this theme and topic so that it benefits our viewers and ourselves to really make the most of these nights, because before you know it, it's, we're through. So, Ali, do you want to?
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things that we talked about in the last episode, namely, for example, Imam As-Sajjad alayhi salam, when it comes to Muharram, or even coming close to Muharram, you can see there's a visible difference in the way he acts, the way he looks, even, and alongside that, we discussed in depth in terms of wearing the black, the black clothes, or even, how you'd be able to translate or even speak to your non-Muslim friends about that, for example. And also, one thing that really caught my interest was actually, these rituals of wearing the black, for example, or going to the majalis, has become such a novelty that people are becoming, I think the word's desensitized to it. And how do we really start to make Muharram special every single year?
I think it's relevance as well, isn't it? Because I think for the older generation, we've gone through so many sort of stages, and now the youth have such a fast pace. Their environment is so vibrant now. So it's really about making it relevant for them, to make them continue this ritual aspect, but obviously the connection with ourselves, isn't it? So
exactly. So tell us a bit more about some of the mustahab, other than wearing black, for example. What other mustahab acts can we do to prepare ourselves for Muharram?
I personally, I believe that these mustahab acts are there to help us, to stop us from getting desensitized. Year after year when we come and commemorate, You know, it's funny how some people, they don't get desensitized to their birthday, which comes every year, but when it comes to Muharram, unfortunately,
It's true.
they're a little
Yeah.
desensitized. So other mustahab acts that can help you with the preparation of Muharram, to help you get into that spirit and gain the benefits and really help your spirituality increase. There are du'as that you can read. There is a du'a, believe it or not, for every month, the first of the month, and Muharram has a specific du'a. The first of Muharram has a du'a which you could recite. And there's also so many ziyarat you could read, like there's that Ashura you could read. It's recommended to read that as much as you can. And why not in Muharram start to recite the ziyarah and really connect with it and what is being said as you build up to that main day, to that big day, and to that big event. Furthermore, we were talking about dressing in black, but also a lot of people, they'll put black in the mosque, they'll put sawada in the mosque. A lot of people like to do that at home. Now, mashallah, the props team here, as you can see, they've put some sawada up behind me here and stuff like that. A lot of people do that at home as well, just to bring that barakah into the house and to get the house to mourn with you, and to bring that Husseini Majlis mosque vibe into the home as well as at the mosque. So it continues, so it can continue to help you with you having that feeling of grieving, and for you to benefit from your spirituality.
And would you also actually, now that you've mentioned that, so would you recommend people play latmiyas, majlis, to all encompasses that whole environment, doesn't it, into the home of actually commemorating, and not just doing your daily rituals that we do on a daily basis, but then actually making it feel like it's throughout that time, isn't it?
Indeed, part of the mustahab acts is to actually go to a majlis and to listen to the masa'ib of Aba Abdullah, and it's very, very important. And in the Pakistani community, it's very important. I remember my mum used to say, if you miss the majlis, it's okay, but don't miss the masa'ib. Don't miss that bit where everyone he's reciting what happened during Karbala, and everyone's there crying and weeping. It's very, very important you make that bit.
What would you say? So Ali touched on it about people becoming desensitized, and another aspect is the attendance. It's saying that I've heard quite people saying, listen to it at home. The internet's there. Why should we have to go? What would you say to that?
It is a fair and valid point. I mean, it is difficult sometimes with the weather that we have in England. It is difficult to get out. It's cold, it's raining sometimes. However, this adds to the barakah and this adds to the thawab. If I was to tell you that if you walk to a majlis and for every rain that hits your shoulder, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove a sin, would you walk in? You wouldn't take an umbrella, you would go through that struggle. And Abu Abdullah went through that struggle for you, and you can't just step outside. Now, at the end of the day, it is a valid point that, I'm going to stay at home and I'm going to, watch it online. I believe that this online streaming of majlis is very, very good for those who can't access majlis. For example, if you're at university and Muharram comes at university and you're very, very far from Husseiniya, maybe you're 2, 3, 4 hours away from Husseiniya, especially if you're in Scotland where, there's not many majlis going on. Where do you go? What are you supposed to do?
Maybe reverts are, not necessarily from communities, are
to
they?
make sure you don't miss out on the majlis, definitely go online and have your, moment, and you have your connection alone, which is nice as well. That you're by yourself, you don't have to worry about other people. You're there, you can turn the lights down dim, you can focus on the majlis, and you can have your one-on-one with the masa'ib, and cry openly. Some people they're a bit shy to cry in front of other people and so forth. But I think it's also very, very important that if there is a majlis local to you, please go and attend. Because the last thing we want is empty majlis.
See, this is what I worry about, because when you look at the churches today, how have we got to the stage where churches are empty? And it's because people lost interest. And if we don't keep this commemoration and the actual importance of physically visiting, we could end up in 50 to 100 years with empty, Husseinias, and that's not where we want to be. So the practice is very important, isn't it, to upkeep?
Indeed, we must, it's very, very important that we keep going. And mashallah, the Husseiniya have very, very good programs. It's not just the majlis, but there's latam afterwards, to participate in the latam. I know young children, they really, really like, they never complain about latam. They really enjoy it.
True.
They really want to get involved. They really, really want to shout and scream at the top of their lungs, and really, really get involved with the whole ritual of latam and the whole morning ceremony of latam, and then not forgetting the tabarak at the end and the food.
It's part of the process, isn't it?
It is. It's all part of going and remembering. and also to receive and also taking the barakah of Abu Abdullah. For those who want to donate in the name of Abu Abdullah, those who want to donate food or water bottles or whatever they want to donate in the name of Abu Abdullah, and to receive that as well. And there's a really nice community spirit that we are all together here. We are all equals in the fact that we all love Abu Abdullah and we're all here to mourn Abu Abdullah. And if you don't attend the majalis, you're going to miss out on this.
Because Islam is, ultimately about this ummah, isn't it? It's about the togetherness, the unity, and you won't get that in silo at home. Yes, you have a separate benefit, but actually the effort is with people. And something I personally do is, so you may have your local mosque where the speaker, you may feel that, oh, well, I don't understand the language, I'm not really vibing with this speaker, but it's good for the attendance because they say angels descend where there is, and you don't know which soul in that gathering is going to be the blessed one that you may get the blessings for. And then perhaps in other times when you're driving to work or you're commuting, to hear another speaker that who's probably in another country and listen to their lecture and catch up that you probably would have stayed home for. But you can fit these things into your daily routine.
Another thing that's very important, which not many people will talk about or touch, is the energy that is transferred.
Exactly.
When you have the dhakir or the mu'ammim sitting down and delivering a message, that energy that he has, which he transfers over to the audience, you can't get that through television. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't work. And
there's a maqam to the servants of Ahlul Bayt that and no ordinary person can match that. And there's a blessing that they give to that person to recite, to be delivering those things. So again, like you're saying, benefit from their vibes, their blessings that you get those. So definitely, that's a really. Any other pointers? Would you say?
I think one of the main mustahab acts in Muharram is to bring people to Abu Abdullah. So if you can go out and speak to friends, and if you can write a blog or a leaflet, or maybe you could, if you're in media, maybe Imam Hussein TV, mashallah, are doing loads of videos which you can go and share to introduce the concept of Muharram and introduce Abu Abdullah al-Hussein to those who have never seen or never heard of Abu Abdullah. For he is the ark of salvation, and he has the widest and he's the biggest and the widest ark, and it's open to everyone and anyone to come on board, regardless of creed, of faith, of background, and it's really, really unfair that these people miss out on that.
I will just say, just as a personal observation, that when we do when we attend London, for instance, we're so blessed to have the opportunity to hold, marches on the 10th of Muharram for Arba'in, and the importance of having literature in English and actually speeches. And I remember last year reading an article in one of the main tabloid papers, and someone had observed the march that the Shias had gone through central London. It was so well organised, and they noticed the people marching and wearing black. And then it came to a point we were outside a national theatre, and the speech started off in Arabic. And they said, this English person said, I was quite taken aback by their entrance, the drums, what is this event? And suddenly it's in a foreign language, and he had no association. And he lost, and that Arabic, I was there, it went on for a good 10-15 minutes. And we lost vital, people to actually learn in that moment. So you could have really made an impact. So those little things are actually quite important, aren't they?
Definitely. I mean, we know from our generation the introduction of English majalis, and how it's benefiting our community and ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I think that, we are, in the future, there will be fully English programs and fully English mosques for people with the English-speaking background, and also for the reverts of this country, so that they can come and they have something that they can identify as their own, and they have a place where they can understand fully in their own language the message of Abu Abdullah. Sure. It's very, very important. And how else am I going to introduce Abu Abdullah to foreigners other than the English language, which is what unites all of us here living in the UK and also in America? That language is that platform and that basis for me to reach out to someone and to transfer that knowledge and that message of Abu Abdullah to them. So it's very, very important, very vital. Not just the English speaking, the majlis and that, but the books, so that they can refer back to their own research. We need much, much more literature in English. Alhamdulillah, in Arabic and Farsi we've got plenty, even in Urdu, but in English we lack. So we really need to work on that, start getting the translations in, so that we can really, really help people get involved and really, really help people indulge into the knowledge that is available and the message of Abu Abdullah Hussein.
Just to wrap up, I guess, for today, we've had a very, very interesting discussion. Just to wrap it up, I guess, we've mentioned a lot of mustahab acts, what recommended acts we should do, but can you touch upon just very, very quickly in terms of the makruh or the acts we should stay away from?
During Muharram time, the makruh acts, there's nothing really specifically makruh that you should not do this or should not do that. But there is like guidelines of what's appropriate and not appropriate. And during Muharram, it's not really appropriate for you to go out and celebrate, and for you to go out and enjoy, and you to go out and they even say to some extent be smiling and things like that. It's all, I mean, like I said,
etiquette, isn't it?
It's etiquette, but it's like behave in a way that as if one of your own has died,
Exactly.
your own grandfather or your uncle or your own father has passed away, and how would you behave and behave in that manner?
I remember when we were growing up, and even celebrating birthdays was just a big no-no, and it's like, you're not having it.
Pakistani community, no, Muharram Safar, it's not happening.
And you'd be like,
I'd have to wait 2 months after
Yeah.
Muharram Safar for me to celebrate, but that was...
Then your parents tell you, well, next year then.
Yeah.
But no, it's true. I think it's absolutely, it's the etiquette, and it's really bringing that message home, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And for the future generations, so that they learn we are their role models. And thank you so much once again.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I guess that it kind of brings it to a close for the makruh and the mustahab acts, the things that are recommended to do, the things we should kind of stay away from when it comes to preparing for Muharram, even during the Muharram 10 nights and Ashura as well. As for the next episodes, we'll be touching on some controversial, slightly controversial topics.
So stay tuned in.
So
join us.
So especially for our viewers as well, to stay tuned for the next episode. So in essence, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
you so much.
And for the viewers, thank you also for your time. And inshallah, you benefit from the fiqh or the jurisprudential aspects of Muharram and Ashura and Arba'in as well. For myself and Zara, we thank you for your time, and have a blessed day and a blessed Muharram as well. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you.
IMAM Hussein, with everything patient, with your love impatient, daily IMAM, daily IMAM Hussein.